Okay, students, in this video we are going to complete the square, and before we get to that, I do have an example here of a trinomial where we have to apply the square root property. And basically what that is we simplify the left side of this equation by factoring out this portion of the equation. So we know that if this is a 1 here, this leading coefficient, we can go straight into the factors x and x. What are two numbers we can multiply to get 4 and get a sum of -4? Well, the answer is going to be -2. And we know this equals 25. Another way I can write x minus 2 times x minus 2 is by using an exponent. X minus 2 squared equals 25. The square root property here states that to undo an exponent of 2, I simply square root both sides. And so that will take care of the exponent, so I end up with x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 25, which is 5. To get this x by itself, I simply add 2 on both sides, and I get x equals plus n minus 5 plus 2. So we have two answers. We have 7 and we have -3. So we solved this quadratic function using the square root property. Let's look at another example really quick here. Let's say we have x squared. Another problem. X squared plus 24x plus 144 is equal to 192. So once again, to simplify or to solve this equation, we factor the left side. Notice this is a 1 here, so we can go straight into the factors. So we know this is going to be x times x. Next, we consider two numbers that will give us a product of 144 and a sum of 24. And the answer is 12 and 12. That's a 12. So once again, to write this, x plus 12, we can write this as an exponent of 2, since there are 2 of them, equals 192. Next, we apply the square root property to both sides, and we do this to eliminate the exponent of 2. So that will yield us x plus 12 equals plus or minus 192. And the final step here is to get x by itself. So x equals, well, we have two operations. X equals plus or minus 192 minus 12. So that's going to give us two operations, a positive one and a negative one. So that is the square root property. Next, let's complete the square. So this is another standard, and this is called completing the square. And there are a couple of rules to complete the square. Let me just start out with one problem. So this is completing the square. Let's do x squared plus 18x minus 4 equals 0. So when we complete the square, we need to understand what the a value is, a, the b value, and the c value, or you can call them terms, a term, b term, c term. Step number 1 is to move the c value to the right. So to move the c value to the right of the equal sign, we end up with x squared plus 18x equals 4. Step number 2 is to make sure that this coefficient next to the x squared is a 1. Well, and we know this is a 1. If it wasn't a 1, let's say it was some other number 2, we would have to divide everything by 2. We need to make this coefficient a 1. The next step we do here, once we have the c value moved to the right side and the leading coefficient of 1, next what we do is we take half of the b value, square that, and add it to both sides. So x squared plus 18x plus half of b, which is 9. We square that and we add it to both sides. Next part is we take the factors of the left side, which in this case it's going to be x, and x gives us x squared, and this is a trick, the shortcut. Whatever the number is what we have right here. On the right side we have 81 plus 4 is 85. Once again we apply the square root property to this side, which is x plus 9 squared equals 85. To get that x by itself, we square root both sides, and so we will get x plus 9 is equal to plus or minus the root of 85, which in this case it's going to be a decimal. It's about 9.2. And the last step is subtract 9 on both sides. So we end up with x equals plus or minus the root of 85 minus 9. Once again, this is going to give us 2 answers, and you can use your calculator to get this. We call this completing the square. So once again, understand that you need to move the c value to the right, which we did right here, and make sure that the leading coefficient is a 1. If it's not a 1, you would have to divide everything by the number next to the x squared to make that a 1. Then we take half of b, in this case half of 18 is 9, we square it and we add it to both sides. Next, we factor the left side and we get x plus 9, x plus 9. That's the same thing as x plus 9 squared. We undo that squared by taking the root of both sides, and we end up with x plus 9 equals plus or minus the root of 85. Next, we take 9 on both sides, subtract 9 on both sides to get x by itself, and we get 2 different answers. I hope this makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions.